Good afternoon, or was a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 16th of August. I've got a nice hot cup of tea. And box to open. And what I have got in here is this Powers Perils, the role-playing game published by Avalon Hill. The company's first role-playing game, published in 1984. So, the cave mouth yawns before you, a dark abyss bearing mute witness of the Stygian terrors that might lie just within. Intrepid, your approach to the cavernous maw, pondering a faint sulphuric stench that pervades the air. As the first rays of the morning sun seek out the inner reaches of the cave, your eyes are transfixed by the sudden glimmer of golden treasures. Before your joy can give you wind to your feet, a blast of fiery vapours threatens to tear your cloak from your body. Your back is seared with heat, as if the gates of hell have suddenly been left ajar. Drawing back slowly, you turn and match gazes with the immense dragon. The streets are quiet ere the fires of law burn bright like the skies. It's your time, a time to wander the avenues and see what prey fate delivers to your judgment. Before you is the corner leading to the avenue of the juggler. As you make your way into the palely lighted street, you detect that coward figure heading in your direction. Silently you melt into the shadows and wait your prey, daggers drawn. Noiselessly, with a silent awkward motion, as the figure glides by, heedless of the crawling of the nape of your neck, you spring forth and drive your daggers deep into the enemy. Then the daggers jam into his clammy flesh until they go no further, yet he does not bleed. Slowly the figure begins to turn. Powers Perils present you with the dimensions of role-playing excitement. With new dimensions of role-playing excitement. It transfers you from the drudgery of mundane existence into cataclysmic worlds where the shadows live, and myriad eldritch encounters await the valiant. With your friends at your side or bravely alone, you issue your challenge to the terrors of an unknown and mysterious realm. At your quest end lies treasure, power, fame and glory without limit. On the road to this reward, you will face and master unlimited perils and awesome powers beyond the normal limits of mortal man. Powers Perils is a fantasy role-playing game in the finest sense, with a simple rule system provided in partnership with the imagination. The game allows you to create worlds with both unique and challenging. It is an ultimate test for the tested FRP gamer, with its systems are simple. While it's simple enough for this total novice to understand and enjoy. With Powers Perils, you will create highly detailed characters that are dynamic in every way. As you succeed and survive, your character will increase in ability until at the highest levels of development, he is truly a power in himself. Wow. Going beyond this finely detailed character book, you will discover a game system that simply and logically details all facets of combat, encounter and magic without bearing down on you in ways of picayune detail. The general systems are further cited by simple generation tables that allow you to expand on the system as you desire, creating spells and creatures unique to your campaign. With this system, you are never limited to a campaign waged with assembly line artifacts against one-dimensional enemies. Powers Perils provides finely tuned creatures, magical artifacts of all descriptions and magics, both natural and learned beyond the standard parameters of a fantasy game. As sure as the sun rises, Powers Perils will provide you with a unique, challenging and constantly dynamic adventure. In partnership with your referee, Powers Perils will lead you on a journey into the infinite and allow you to grasp the immense variability possible in a truly fantastic world. The game contains 4 rulebooks, an exciting scenario, County Mordara, a tablet of character record sheets, and the dice required to play. Number of players. Powers Perils is suitable for players of 1 to 12 players. Powers Perils is suitable for play by 1 to 12 players. 5 to 7 are recommended, and a referee. It is recommended for ages 12 and up. Playing time is unlimited. The Avalon Hill game company. So yeah, wow, that's an incredibly long blurb on the back. So, Powers Perils, as I say, a fantasy role-playing game of unique dimensions. It's a bookcase game, as were many of the titles published by Avalon Hill at the time, which was better known for its war games rather than its fantasy role games, or even its fantasy games, although it did publish a few. Now, this is designed by Richard Snider, who is probably best known also for Adventures in Fantasy, which he co-designed with Dave Arneson. I have reviewed that as well. It is not particularly good. So this is what we've got inside. that's the character sheet. And then book one of my slightly aged copy. You can see just how, yeah, dense that is. But the artwork is excellent on the front at least. And we have a beginning note, list of contents, and this is basically a beginning note. This is where you start, and first topic addresses is trained magic users and innate magic users. Abbreviations used, dice codes, so anything from a two-sided dice all the way up to a percentile dice. Very quickly, we're on to character creation. Black and white kind of style, with sort of like a pinkish red highlights, and the artwork isn't quite so good inside, I don't think. Now you remember this is the same time as the James Bond 007 role-playing game was coming out, and here we have this. It's really very much looking like quite a dense war game. In comparison, the James Bond role-playing game is really beautifully laid out. So, yep, also into shades of purple, so we, a bit of variety in terms of the colour. So, yeah, quite a lot to go through here. And these sections are optional, so like a big swathe of purple there. So, yeah. I mean, this was due to be published in 1983. It actually was published in 1984, and really wouldn't have done very well, I suspect, at the time. It would have been notable for the fact that it was from Avalon Hill, a noted publisher of war games rather than role-playing games. I mean, this isn't to say that Avalon Hill didn't have any success with role-playing games. The later 90s role-playing game Tales of the Floating Vagabond, the notable exception, that was quite well supported, and was far better received. So yeah, I mean, here we go. They've got to the equipment tables. So yeah, I mean, just one of the things that, when I come to do this review for 2024, 40 years after its publication, it'd be interesting with all of these reviews to go back and just sort of like have a look to see what people were writing about in response when they reviewed it, and I do put quotes from those reviews into my retrospective. So and problem solving, rules optional. Wow. And notes on language at the end. So then we have book 2, the Combat and Magic book. And it seems to sort of like the better artwork is being saved for the front cover, because that's actually a good, decent piece of artwork. So we go straight into combat. Quite detailed. You've got, optional there for subdual rules, missile fire, range fractions, fire modifiers, horse archery, using crossbows. So horse archery, using crossbows up here. So, equipment damage, optional. It's interesting, sort of like, so you've got all these square tables, all these, and then you have this oddly rounded off table just to fit in with the artwork. There's no effort. You sort of like, you think, okay, well, clearly the artwork could have been shifted sort of like a bit over this direction, but so yeah, things like tactical combat, and phase combat. This is really quite a dense game, and I think I definitely don't think it lives up to the simplicity that it claims. It's it's a far more comprehensive role-playing game, I will definitely grant you, than Adventures in Fantasy, which you know, was really needed a lot more development. We've got the Magic Pass, we're discussing wizardry, you know, and our apprenticeship orientation, whether that's through law, chaos, or balance. So, yeah, and then we've got a section on shamanism. She magics and you know, the ancient arts practiced by the Alpha Fairy and Alpha. And then we've got the spell lists, including options for random spell lists. And that's you know, quite detailed spells there, which I have to say remind me quite a bit of anything of the earlier Dragon Quest, which was published by SBI. It's made, I mean, SBI put out you know, basically less than a handful of role-playing games, but Dragon Quest is the most well-known. And I think probably of all those role-playing games published by SBI, I think Dragon Quest would be the one that people would want to come back. And if you had an option for an Avalon Hill role-playing game to come back, then it would definitely be Tales from the Floating Vagabond. So you've got all these spells: Liberate Spirit, Invisibility, Lichcraft, you know, Masquerade, Might, Music. So yeah, quite a lot of spells. It's a quite a dense set of spells. You've got things in here like rules for permanent magics and optional ensorcelments. That's quite basically quite difficult to read on that background. It's debatable essentially whether when this came out, whether people were quite ready to learn another complex system, especially in a time when, you know, you had options, you know, like Rollmaster. Book 3, the Creature Book, and again, I'm saying basically the artwork on the front of these is really quite nice. So, got straight into encounters. And things like food, point, yield, camped, sleep, encounter setup and situations. So no doubt that the rules are comprehensive. It just means that there are a lot of them. And then we get onto the worlds, and we have sort of like sort of a sketch of the upper world. So, you know, regions, you've got regions of the free world, the chaos regions, balance regions, law regions and how they're connected. And we've got some examples, including, and then we've got discussion of the nature of the gods, the upper world gods, creatures, and then we get dropped to the lower world, and there isn't actually a map for that. Before we get on to table encounters, so we start off with aerial encounters, Badlands encounters, city margin encounters, desert encounters, city encounters, forest encounters. So all the encounter tables you would want: guardian encounters, hill encounters, jungle encounters. Lower world encounters, mountain encounters, and then once, you know, basically more plains, ruins, swamp, underground, roadway encounters. You'd think you'd have the roadway encounters a lot earlier than that, since that's going to, you know. But and then we've got even more upper world encounters and waterway encounters before we get onto the creature list. So we start off with the creatures, and just Okay, we have Aquian. Is our spectral horses that radio astral power. The horrors are radiant handsome figures, basically like angels. You've got various angels before we get onto anything you can actually recognise, and that's a vampire. So on the third page of the monster list is the vampire. You're just going, what? And then we're on to vampire bat, vampire worm, and they're not illustrated. Let's just check. So the creatures doesn't really say what area these are from necessarily, but then we start on to animals, including domestic dogs. Just animals and animals, stats and stats. And then we're back to the weird creatures, of which I recognise the Bargoest and Basilisk. Yeah, so quite a lot of interesting. There's a huge variety of creatures on there. You know, all of them described, detailed, but not all of them illustrated. And you kind of wish that sort of like some of the odder creatures were illustrated and had a little bit more detail to them. Then here we've got the dragons section. So this is a bit more detailed because hey, the dragons are the big, sort of like the big bads, as it were, the big beasts of the setting. So I'm just going to sort of like carry on flipping through because you know the problem is it's you've got these big swathes of text, difficult to really kind of pick out details because nothing very much stands out. This is an Indica Kugu. And then we've got the full range of giants there. Some more over the page. We've got the goblin. There's the griffin and the hippogriff. So you've got some classic creatures in here, illustrated, but not all of them. And you're kind of going, I wish I knew what these look like. And that's the ogre. Oh, I mean, you know, scorpion people. Trolled folk and trolls. And you've got a unicorn there with presumably a virgin Drake Dover, which is so sort of vaguely 70s. Yeah. That's a forest villy, whatever that is, you know. And then we have creature variations, optional. Begins there and runs all the way there. There. Yeah. So yeah, that's book 3, the creature book. Book 4. Book of Human Encounters and Treasure. So this kind of builds upon the encounter tables in book 3. But again, we've just got encounter tables. And you know, encounter descriptions: bandits, battlefields, band camps, entertainers, major endeavour, major hunt, peasants, ruins, runaways. And these are a bit more useful in the sense of sort of you're going to create role-playing encounters amongst them. We've got some city encounter tables, encounter descriptions for that as well. So, you know, a private encounter in a private room, a public building, peasant citizens, recruiters. I'm just going to do the same for hamlets and city margins before we go on to the treasure tables. And leisure treasure guides. You know, basically the treasures of various creatures, area-specific treasures, and common areas, and then the means to actually generate the treasures themselves. I do have some examples in there mixed in too. And then we have sort of lists for things like, let's have a look. Fine metal items, gems, jewellery, and books and book descriptions, map descriptions, and we've got a table for books to find, scrolls to find, clothing, containers, eating utensils, sort of like, you know, just lots of things that you can find and might be valuable to someone. Musical instruments, military treasures, and then we have, you know, weapons, magical treasures. Yeah, so all of that really sort of like, you know, you're trying to get for just covering the mundane aspects, and the rest of the book is magical treasures. So, you know, things that can be cursed, special cases, knowledge, abilities of these magical items. So, yeah, you can actually, I mean, I think you've got rules here for sort of like creating interesting magical treasures. And what they do. Item descriptions, basically for charms and ingredients. So basically, big list of ingredients or materials. So not actually necessarily a lot in the way of actual sort of like hero magical things you can pull off the shelf. And then we have some designer notes, which is like an odd place to place it in that book. And then let's have a look. There's an appendix. I'm told there's an appendix. I'll flip back. Oh, here we go. Okay, so notably there is an Appendix A, but it's not actually marked, and that's the NPC stats here. Appendix B is notes for the referee, and then C for the player, and then you've got an advert for the Heroes magazine, which Avalon Hill would have published at the time when this was released, which was, say, 1984. And then we have Powers Perils, County Mordara, a setting book. We've got a scene at tavern, which is about to break out into a brawl, and we've got a description of the nation of Donara, and a more close-up map of the county of Mordara. Quite small, but I mean, you know, enough for you to get plenty of adventuring in. Sort of accompanied by these quite small maps, and these do actually remind me of sort of like the maps they kind of vaguely they were doing for Request at the time, because I say that Avalon Hill didn't publish another, very few role-playing games. One of the major role-playing games it did publish was RuneQuest, but that was, brought in to be developed by themselves, by Avalon Hill. So this is really more of a Powers is more of a homegrown piece. So list of the NPCs in the county. Important NPCs, described, detailed, not illustrated. They've got a list of other characters which might be useful in context. And then the basic adventure itself, which essentially it's a search for the harp of Alarin. So you're doing a quest, and you've got a special encounter table at the beginning of the scenario. So you're not making use of the ones in the rest of the book, and you have an encounter at an inn, because every fantasy scenario should begin at an inn. So much of the adventures are taking place at the inn before you go out, and interestingly, okay, so here's how they're listing them, sort of like, is the adventure structure note A, and all the buildings are listed like that. So Hosen's Emporium is just check through the description. I can find, it doesn't actually say that, but you go on to I can't see structure note B, but I can see structure note C, the Cave of Cavia. And they're just the same thing, the structure note D, Valerian's cabin. Structure note E, you have the tomb at Valerian, so you're going to find the harp, and you've got quite a simple dungeon to be encountered there. And then you've got a future timeline for what's going to happen in the events of this setting, that which you can sort of interact with, I suppose. And then you've got some common building on the back, and sort of a key that you can use to help you create some maps. So that is Powers Perils, published by Avalon Hill in 1984. If you've enjoyed this unboxing, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post that. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings, then where you'll see me out here with a box containing a role-playing game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice cup of tea, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of Nook. We'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.